Qantas has flown Boeing 747s for almost 50 years, only finally retiring the last of them in 2020. Over the decades, the airline flew multiple variants of the jumbo jet. For a time in the late 1970s and into the early 1980s, Qantas actually only exclusively flew 747s. What's lesser known is that in the early 2000s, Boeing made a 747 variant specially for Qantas, a model known as the Boeing 747-400ER. 20 years ago, Qantas ordered 6 Boeing 747-400ERs. Historically, the airline had been a long-haul carrier. It's easy to forget that until recently, long-haul flying involved one or more stops. But in terms of both time and money, stopovers were costly and inefficient. Qantas was keen to do more direct long-haul flying and needed aircraft with the wings to do so. With a typical configuration and carrying a standard load, a Boeing 747-400 can fly for about 13,500 kilometers. Very lightly loaded and with nice tailwinds, it can fly further. Loaded with passengers, cargo, and building in a safety buffer for delays and diversions, your typical 747-400 could make it across the Pacific, but just barely. Qantas wanted something a little extra. Dating back to their first jet airplanes in the 1950s, Qantas has always urged Boeing to provide more range, said Boeing's Toby Bright in 2002 when the first Qantas 747-400ER landed. The Dash 400ER was the same size as the standard 747-400. Qantas already had around 24 of those. What distinguished the 747-400ER from the 747-400 was the option of 1 or 2 extra 12,300-litre fuel tanks in the forward cargo hold. The 747-400ER also had a strengthened fuselage, landing gear, and parts of its wings. There were also new, larger tyres. Qantas was the only airline to order the 747-400ER, taking the option of a single extra fuel tank. The 747-400ER had an increased takeoff weight of 412,770 kilograms and could carry an extra 6,800 kilograms of weight and fly an extra 800 kilometers. Those improvements might seem like a fractional change on the already impressive 747-400 capabilities, but that extra 6,800 kilograms can mean the difference between a profit or loss on a flight. The extra range opened up new routes such as Melbourne-Los Angeles and Dallas-Brisbane. The 747 has been a key to our long-haul success for more than 30 years, and this latest model with its enhanced performance capability will continue to give Qantas a competitive edge, especially on long-haul trans-Pacific routes, said David Forsyth, a Qantas executive when the first 747-400ER arrived in Sydney. First Qantas 747-400ER was registered Victor Hotel Oscar Echo Foxtrot and given the name Sydney. That plane arrived in November 2002, and Qantas loyalists would recognise it from its special One World colours. For the best part of 2 decades, these 6 planes flew Qantas passengers around the world. If the registrations don't ring a bell, the planes' names would be familiar to many people. The 747-400ERs were also the last 747s to exit the Qantas fleet. These flew off into the sunset in 2020. The very last aircraft, Victor Hotel Oscar Echo Juliet Wanala, flew off to California in July, marking the end of the Boeing 747 at Qantas after 49 years. Have you flown on Qantas's 747-400ERs? Did you know the airline's 747s were different from other Dash 400s? Let us know in the comments. Did you know that we publish over 175 stories every single week on simpleflying.com? Be sure to check the link in the description for more great stories just like this. Thanks for watching, and be sure to like and subscribe before you go.